So we are going to explore one of these other modifiers now called Boolean, and these are pretty interesting, a little bit tricky to understand at first, but once you get it, the basic idea, you can play around with it. So in order to do this, you actually need to create two objects. So let's create a Suzanne head, and let's create a cube. Okay, so leave them as is. Select the Suzanne head and let's just scale it up a bit, maybe so it's something like this. So it's kind of coming through the surface, to, through all the sides. All right, if you go select the Suzanne head, not the cube, and go to add modifier and choose Boolean, B-O-O-L-E-A-N, you get this basically three options, and difference, intersect, and union. Now, you don't see what it's doing because it's kind of, one is hiding the other. So what I would suggest is just go ahead, so you can really see how this works, is go to the cube up on your outliner and turn it off. What happened here? Oh, duh. Okay, missed a very important step. You have to tell Blender what you want to use as the Boolean second object. So under this part of the menu, choose, I'm going to put this back to difference. We're going to choose the cube. So click on this bar, choose the cube. Okay, now turn the cube off. Okay, so let's look at the three options. So what difference does is it takes wherever the object that you selected as your Boolean object, and it only leaves behind the difference area, meaning the area where the cube was. It kind of deletes all the rest of the geometry. Again, it's not really deleting it, because if you hit tab, the whole geometry is there. It would only delete it if you hit apply, and then in case you would have a new piece of geometry. So let's look at the other one. So difference deletes the object that the cube, or that area where they overlapped. So let's actually do something here. If you scale this head while you're in this mode, you'll start to see, oh, okay, so as it scales down, it almost disappears completely because it's kind of deleting that whole cube. If you scale it up, it's going to delete less of the cube. Okay, let's look at the other two. Intersect. Intersect is basically the opposite. It takes the cube and wherever the monkey head intersected with the cube is what it leaves behind. Again, this takes some playing around with to understand. And the third is union. Now, union is basically, it like fuses the two together. These are the three different kinds of Booleans. It can create, this function can create really, really weird geometry, and I would say use with a lot of caution. If there's some particular shape you need to make by doing this, you could certainly find a use for it, but just got to use it with some caution. So let's look at a little bit of kind of flipping these two things around and actually using the monkey as the Boolean and the cube as the main object. So I'm gonna delete this completely, turn the cube back on, and let's do the opposite. Let's choose the cube. Add modifier Boolean. And now we tell it in the modifier window where it says object, you tell it to Boolean based on the Suzanne head, and in this case turn the Suzanne head off. So now if we go to difference, we've got wherever the Suzanne head was, kind of creates a void, and you're left with just the remainder of the cube. If you go to intersect, you've got actually this should look like it did when you flipped it around. So in this case, the intersection between the two should stay the same no matter which one you choose as the main object and which one you're using as the Boolean object. So that should kind of help explain it too. And union also is going to look the same. It's just taking the two and fusing them together. So let's go to difference. This is kind of one of the more interesting ones in this case. And so again, if I hit tab, all the geometry is there. Now though, if I apply this Boolean and then I hit tab, well, now it created a bunch of kind of strange geometry within that cube. So it could keep that shape. All right, I think that's good for that modifier. I highly recommend with this one that you make several different objects, play around with how you, the different settings and the different, like reversing which one you use as the main object, which one you use as the Boolean object. All right.